Hey guys, Mike here. So another big week ahead. Of course, we got probably the most anticipated earnings for one company in particular coming out. Put in the comments if you can guess which one that is. And of course, other thing is on these charts we're looking at here this week, there's a couple things playing out. And depending on how you want to look at the chart, I'll show you two different ways to look at it. One to be more bullish, one to be more bearish, depending on which way you tend to lean. So I'll get your opinion on that and stuff. But the other thing is, also introduce some things like what was going on Friday as far as the options market. So kind of anticipate maybe what we'll see next week is going to be key. But I did tell you, and that I would show you this chart on the AI bubble as far as compared to other bubbles. And another thing that I think is catching a lot of people off guard, and I'll show you kind of why that is. Really, and it's pretty simple as far as I'm concerned. But when you look at the AI chart first, and then we'll get into one that's probably surprising everybody on these earnings calls, you can see this has all the bubbles going back to the 70s, right? There you got the Bitcoin bubble, you got ARK, you got biotech from 2013 to 2000, looks like 15 it started to crash. We all know about the housing market from 04 to almost 07, obviously .com bubble in 98 to around 2000. Gold back in the 70s. If you didn't know anything about it. And then there's AI, and really the way they're calculating this is NVIDIA and Microsoft. You can probably throw Google and stuff in there, but really it just started in 2022, right? Late 2022. And so, it can go on for quite a while, as you can see, when people start piling in. But the other thing to look at is, the curious part about AI is what's going to happen to jobs, right? It's going to create more jobs than eliminates. You got IBM, they're going to replace 7,800 jobs with AI over time. Pause hiring, and their CEO even said 30% of the back office functions will be replaced by AI in 5 years. And so to me, this makes for a good debate because you're going to have your optimistic people. They're going to lean on the path and say, well, yeah, it's just like when the tractor was invented to replace the horse and plow, the car was invented to replace the horse and buggy, all these things. The computer was invented to replace the typewriter and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, more efficiency creates more jobs, right? And then, of course, the pessimistic person can come along and say, well, maybe this time's different because, AI is the most powerful, sophisticated, obviously, innovation we've had, and it can be used for good, it can be used for bad, but will it replace more jobs and eliminate? Because it's going to eliminate I'm talking about it's going to eliminate millions of jobs around the world. So, but will it actually create more jobs? That's the big question, right? So let me know what you think down in the comments. And you can say AI, you can also say automation. Right. And so, look at Tesla. They probably have the most, I was trying to find the numbers on this, but I just couldn't find anything. Maybe nobody's ever done research on it. But they keep almost like reinventing how their assembly line works. Right. And I think in the last earnings call, they came out and we were talking about this. And so, and when you see, what it used to be even 20 years ago versus what they're doing versus the legacy automakers, it's like night and day. Right. They're way ahead of the game, but it doesn't take as many humans to do what they're doing. Right, and it doesn't even take as many steps as their plan to actually do this. So it'll allow them to produce more cars, right? And so, of course, there has to be people who buy all those cars they're producing and stuff. So, it's a good debate. I always look at it, especially when it comes to automation. You look at the lower level, like the grocery stores. Again, that's automation, but it doesn't increase efficiency or anything. Have you ever seen somebody trying to check a whole bucket of groceries out by themselves? For people like me or you, and we had experience in high school doing it. I did 2 years at a grocery store, so I'm pretty good at it, actually. I guess you never forget it, but you ever see other people? it is definitely slower. It's not more efficient, and it ain't creating no more jobs. All right, one person for 8 lines at the grocery store I go to now. That's automatic checkout lines, and so it eliminated jobs. That's what it did, right? And I think you're going to see that. You see IBM obviously doing it. Like any education, like Chegg, for example, their stock's in the gutter because they even admitted ChatGPT is basically going to replace that industry. Is what it's going to end up doing, right? And so, but you're going to have lawyers. There was just saw yesterday a legal professor. He asked the students. He was saying he asked the students, like, be honest, without punishment, how many of you guys are actually using ChatGPT or another AI type model app to write your papers? And like 75% of the class raised their hand. And then they also told him something he didn't know was there's another software out there now that will put in the errors for you to make it look like it wasn't written by AI, right? That's crazy, but that's what they're doing. So now legal briefs will be able to be written by AI. So that's going to affect lawyers, it's going to affect accountants, everything. You just imagine. So now you're going to have high-paying jobs and low-paying jobs being eliminated. Anything repetitive will be eliminated. And so, the question is, what's it going to invent, right? It's like the robo-taxi system, My argument is there's no job being created, or not really that many. You'll create some jobs. But if you're eliminating, let's say, 5,000 well, it's way more than that, but taxi cab drivers or whatever, or Uber and Lyft drivers, you know, to go from point A to point B, whether it's Jimmy taking you or whether it's a software taking you, there's nothing invented in between. Now, of course, you'll need people to upkeep those cars, maybe to upkeep the software, but eventually AI is going to take that over too. You know, that's just the way it's going to be because it can write code. And so it's going to get more and more sophisticated. And then, of course, you'll have on top of that, we'll see what the government does, right? Like regulation. Why did EV in the United States take so much longer to take off than anywhere else around the world in other modern countries? Because our politicians are legally bribed by the legacy automakers for years to hold down Tesla to make sure they couldn't ramp up, right? And then, of course, Elon Musk got smart. Again, for those of you who've been with me a long time, you know I did a whole video on this proving it. And once he started suing and once he started legally bribing politicians, all of a sudden, amazingly, more EV EV cars started being bought. Shocker there, right? And so again, we have to see how legislation is going to affect this whole industry because we've already seen. I mean, it's very powerful and it can be used definitely for the wrong thing, right? But the good thing is, like plumbers, electricians, construction workers, teachers, cops, military. You know, I don't think that obviously their jobs are going to be safe for a very long time, and so you might see more people even going into those jobs. Right, so that can happen. But let me know what you think down in the comments. You know, I'm just creating conversation, not telling you either way. But you know, the one thing I think this is definitely you're going to see, and this is what's shocking people on earnings calls really, is the S&P 500 quarterly net profit margin actually increased in Q1. Right, it was declining all the way from first quarter of 2021 all the way down, and then it increased. And people are like, "Whoa, wait a minute." What the heck's going on? But it really shouldn't be that big of a surprise because, I mean, here's your equation for net profit margin. Revenue minus cost divided by revenue. Well, what have you heard on on the calls, all the news coming out? Cutting costs, right? What's your biggest cost? People. And so companies, especially major companies, have been doing massive amounts of layoffs. And, of course, that cuts their costs. They've been cutting their CapEx, all kinds of stuff. And so that they don't have to have the revenue growing as fast if they're cutting their costs at a rapid rate. And even like 93% of CEOs that were polled last week even said they're still preparing for a recession, right? How do you prepare for a recession? You cut costs. And if you're liking this video, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button. That will be the thumbs up right below the video there. Just go ahead and hit that for me. I sure do appreciate it and all your support. And if you like this kind of content, think about subscribing. And just one last reminder, guys, that this Seeking Alpha special will be gone after tomorrow. So you got 24 hours. Try to sign up for it. Usually it's $239. They're offering $99 to try it out. And of course, on their website, you can do everything. You can keep your list of top stocks, look at the top ETFs, screen stocks, screen ETFs, comparison news, you name it, they got it on there. And if you want to sign up for it, just click on the link down in the description right there below, and you will save up to 59% off. And again, $99 for 1 year. And if you don't like it, you can cancel within 7 days. And now that leads us into the charts. And some of these charts, when you look at it, I'll give you two different ways to look at it because you pretty much get whatever you want out of a chart. Now, when you look at the S&P, you can see it almost filled that gap right above right there, but then it pulled back down, started hugging this trend line, which is respected for quite a while and stuff. And so we'll see by consolidating there if we get another move up, if the financials, the energy sector and stuff come along with the tech sector, that'll definitely happen. But again, last week was pretty much a big move for a lot of stocks, especially on the Qs. And when you look at the Qs, you can see what I'm talking about. And the thing to pay attention to the Qs are this right here where the RSI is at on the daily. Last time the RSI was right here after a big move up, we sold off about 9% down to that trend line, right? And I've been saying we need a healthy pullback, and that trend line would make sense right now. But again, this AI bubble is like driving a bunch of the top 10 stocks up, which keeps driving this index up, unlike the S&P. And so we'll have to see on that, but to pay attention to that, we'll see if it happens again. And then Apple, you look at two different ways. You're either going to have the support and resistance flip continue, it's going to come out of here and retest and keep moving up, or the other thing to look at is this going to be a double top, right? When it reaches up, this was the August high over there, and it's about right there. So we'll have to see. Remember, it left these gaps right down below it, especially that big gap right there, which is a big one for such a mega cap stock and everything. And so we'll see if that is the case. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen on that one. And then Google, of course, is one of the two of the FANG stocks I was talking about yesterday that had leprosy. And, you know, now all of a sudden they started pushing this up, and whether it's AI or whether it's big money just saying, hey, you know, Google and then Amazon, I'm going to show you next, got left behind, so we got to start pushing these up, make money on them. It's coming into a big overhead resistance or a supply area, as you can see. So it already got rejected off of it. We'll see if it can push through that. And then you got Amazon, same way, right? It comes up to the supply area, gets rejected off. And so we'll have to see if it can push up through this. You can see it's got those volume gaps to make this happen. But again, these two stocks have had really nice moves over the last couple of weeks. So we'll see if they're going to take a breather or not this week coming up. And then Tesla, of course, once it cleared around that 168-ish area, you had that volume gap, which it just blew right through. It always does, by the way. And you had that, obviously you saw the gap fill. And so, looking at this, the RSI on the daily looks great, just barely over the 50 and stuff. And we know how Tesla is. It definitely has room to run. And you can see what's pushing it. You had big money coming in, huge call options coming in all over the place in 170, 175, 200. And then when you look at more retail investors, I think, coming in here around the 180 calls is a big one expiring this week coming up. And so we'll see if that's what's going to happen. And again, once it got above around 178, 179, people are really expecting for this to keep going. Some people are projecting 220, somewhere in there. And if you ever thought, Tesla was losing market share, yeah, probably are. But again, they had the whole market share almost. But it's amazing they still have, as of Q1, 63% of the market share. What amazed me on this, though, was Rivian. I didn't know they had 3.1%, which is the same as almost Volkswagen. It's not far off Ford. And I've been seeing a lot of Rivians in my areas. Let me know in the comments if you've been seeing them. So, again, I live in an area where people like to go camping, do outdoor stuff. So maybe that's what it is. And there are the two vehicles I know they have are pretty nice vehicles. But that one kind of surprised me. But again, Tesla has such a huge, huge lead right now. It's insane. Now, AMD is another one here. Obviously, this is an AI semiconductor stock that's getting moved up like crazy and stuff. And watch this trend line. This is what you want to watch right here. It's been great support and great resistance, right? The last time it came up over here, looks like in April, it got rejected off of it. We're back there again. And so we'll have to see if we end up getting rejected again, or it's going to keep on pumping, right? Just like NVIDIA. And speaking of that, obviously you can see we got earnings coming up here. Some of these stocks, like Zoom, for example, had like one billionaire. He actually got into it, which really surprised me. And so we'll see how that one does. A lot of people like to play the earnings on that one. And then you're going to Tuesday. We saw what Home Depot did. Let's see what Lowe's has to say. You'll have Dick's Sporting Goods, BJ's, AutoZone and stuff. So a lot of this has to do with us and how we're spending the stuff. Then you have Palo Alto, Intuit, Toll Brothers for the housing market, which, of course, those stocks have been doing really good. Urban Outfitters, are we still camping and all that fun stuff, right? Then you'll have Kohl's, Xpeng's, a big Chinese place for the EVs, Petco. Everybody still loves their pets. No doubt about that. Abercrombie and Fitch. And then the big daddy, what everybody's going to wait on Wednesday, is NVIDIA, right? Because this one has had such a run. I can't wait to hear that earnings call, right? Snowflake, Elf, obviously, they make makeup. And if I can go back, I definitely bought something in makeup. I just didn't think about that. But that is definitely an industry to make sure you pay close attention to, whether they're in a recession or not. Makeup is the way to go. Huge margins. People buy it. Then you have Splunk as well. It's going to be played. Then you have Best Buy. See how they're doing. Dollar Tree, which I looked at their chart today, and they seem to be doing pretty good. TD Bank is another one. Then you'll have Costco, again, another retailer. These have been all over the place. I was telling the members, I put a chart out and said I'd definitely wait on earnings on this one because they're just all over the place. You got, Walmart, okay on earnings. You got Target, not so good. Right, and then you'll have Ulta, another makeup play. Marvel is another semiconductor play. You have Gap, which some people look at, Big Lots, things like that. So a lot about retail and everything like that. And then we look at economic data. Monday is nothing. Nothing's going to move it. We do have the Fed speakers. Pay attention to that. Tuesday, again, you'll have S&P Global Manufacturing coming out, Richmond Manufacturing Index and stuff coming out. So people might pay attention to that. Wednesday, you got the FOMC minutes, and so this might show the dot plots and things like that and see if they got cuts put in there and everything else. Maybe the market reacts, but the Fed presidents all say the same thing, which are not cutting rates, right? Thursday, you're going to have your jobless claims, GDP, core PCE coming out. So that maybe can move markets around. People will be paying attention to that. The Kansas City Fed manufacturing index will come out. And then, of course, on Friday, you have core PCE index month over month, year over year. People want to see that. The funny thing is they don't really have it moving. It's just kind of staying the same. And then you'll have PCE, of course, as well. And this is stuff the Fed likes to look at. And then you'll have Michigan consumer sentiment coming out, which will tell us, are we feeling any better, right? Consumer sentiment does mean something, right? And so we'll see if that's gotten any better. Let me know in the comments, where your sentiment is at about the economy, how you think things are going. So right now, I was listening to some of the CEOs of the travel industry, and they were just like going, hey, we're booked up, right? I mean, I just scheduled a trip for me and my son to do some father-son time, right? Coming up after school here. And so we're going down there, and, it is what it is and stuff. And man, hotels aren't cheap. Let me tell you that right now. Whew, man, that was interesting when I was booking that last night. I couldn't believe how much they're charging per night, but I was like, all right, that's cool. And I'm actually going on a weekday. I skipped the weekend because I don't want to try to fight the Memorial Day crowd. So let's go during the weekdays. And so we'll see how that goes. But let me know, what you think about the earning, if you're going to be playing any of them, and how you think the retail stocks will make out and stuff, because that's been all over the place. All right. So hope you guys admire this, guys. Hit the like, subscribe button if you did. Really appreciate that. And I will see you tomorrow.